What if I told you that towering giants once walked this earth, so massive and powerful that their very existence shook humanity to its core? Yes, the Bible speaks of them, and their story isn't just a myth or legend. These were real beings, born out of rebellion, shrouded in mystery, and destined for destruction. But why did God allow them to exist? And what does their story reveal about our own spiritual battles today? Today, we're diving into one of the most controversial and jaw-dropping stories in the Bible, the true account of the Nephilim, the giants mentioned in Genesis 6. Let's uncover who these giants were, how they came to exist, and what their story reveals about God's plan for humanity. The story begins in Genesis 6:1-4, a passage that has intrigued and mystified believers for centuries. Here, we are introduced to a time when humanity was multiplying rapidly on the earth. But alongside this growth came something extraordinary and terrifying. The text tells us about the sons of God, often understood as fallen angels, celestial beings who rebelled against God and descended to earth. These beings, in an act of defiance against their Creator, crossed the boundaries of heaven and earth to take human women as their wives. The result? A race of giants called the Nephilim, a name that means fallen ones. The Nephilim weren't ordinary humans by any stretch of the imagination. They are described in Genesis as heroes of old, men of renown. But this title is far from flattering. These heroes were not noble warriors or virtuous leaders. Instead, they were beings of immense physical strength and stature, corrupted in both body and spirit. Their sheer presence brought terror and chaos to the world. Far from being figures of admiration, the Nephilim embodied everything that stood in opposition to God's order and design for creation. Think about the gravity of this situation. Celestial beings, created by God to serve and glorify Him, chose instead to rebel. They abandoned their divine purpose and sought to corrupt the human race. Their actions were a deliberate and calculated attempt to undermine God's authority. Therefore, the resulting race of giants, the Nephilim, became a living symbol of this rebellion. The Book of Enoch, an ancient Jewish text not included in the biblical canon but often referenced in discussions about Genesis 6, offers further insights. It suggests that these fallen angels, known as the Watchers, not only intermingled with humans but also taught humanity forbidden knowledge, things like sorcery, weapon making, and other practices that fueled violence and wickedness. This paints a picture of a world spiraling out of control, a society where corruption, greed, and violence reigned supreme under the influence of these giants and their angelic progenitors. This influence poisoned the earth, leading to a culture of violence, oppression, and sin so pervasive that it grieved the heart of God. And this rebellion against God's authority is the reason the story of the Nephilim is so crucial to understanding the larger narrative of Scripture. It wasn't just about giants roaming the earth, it was about the battle between good and evil, obedience and rebellion, creation and destruction. In their very existence, the Nephilim stood as a grotesque monument to the consequences of defying God. Their story is a stark reminder that when we choose to step outside of God's will, we don't just disrupt our own lives, we invite chaos into the world around us. But God is never passive in the face of evil. The Bible reveals that the world during the time of the Nephilim became so corrupt, so steeped in sin and violence, that it grieved God deeply. Their presence encouraged a culture of rebellion, oppression, and wickedness so severe that God decided to take decisive action, the cleansing of the earth through the flood. In His justice, God brought judgment upon the wicked, but in His mercy, He preserved Noah and his family, described as blameless in his generation. By sparing Noah, God safeguarded the human lineage from complete corruption and ensured that his plan for redemption through humanity would continue. The Nephilim, along with the rest of the sinful world, were wiped out in this cataclysmic judgment. Their towering presence, their corruption, their very legacy, gone in an instant under the waters of God's wrath. The giants of the Bible may have been wiped out, but their story lives on as a testament to God's justice, His mercy, and His ultimate victory over evil. The question for us today is, will we trust in God's power to defeat the giants in our own lives, or will we let fear and rebellion take root? Ephesians 6:12 reminds us, "For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world." The Nephilim were a visible manifestation of that rebellion, but today, the battle is often more subtle. It's in our thoughts, our choices, and the spiritual influences we allow into our lives. Now is the moment to stand firm in your faith. Just as God defeated the giants of the past, He remains mighty to overcome any spiritual battle you face today. But it begins with a choice to trust Him fully, to live righteously, and to turn away from anything that separates us from His will. So now, my friend, the question is yours to answer. What will you do with this story? Will you allow it to stir your heart and draw you closer to God, embracing the lessons it holds? Or will it remain just another tale from the pages of Scripture? Remember, these stories are divine messages meant to teach, to warn, and to remind us of the unmatched power and unending love of our Creator. Let this story inspire you to rise up in faith, knowing that the same God who conquered giants long ago is with you today, ready to lead you into victory. And if this video has inspired you, share it with someone who needs to hear this message today. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and join us for more deep dives into the mysteries of the Bible. May God bless you abundantly.